back to Litigation Help. My name is Hui-Litwin, and welcome to this part 2 in our series of financial disclosure in family law. So we're again, of course, talking to Shmuel Stern, family lawyer and founder of Disclosure Clinic. If you haven't watched part 1, you can click on the little I button above, or you can go to the link at the description box below. Please note again that this video is general legal information only and is based on the law in Ontario, Canada. Okay, so Shmuel, so welcome back.
Hi, thanks so much for having me back.
So I'm really looking forward now to letting you take the lead and sort of like guiding us how to fill in Form 30, I believe it's 13.1, right?
Yeah, so we'll go through it. I was thinking how how boring it is to fill out a form, right?
Yeah.
But to speak about filling out a form is like doubly boring.
Yeah.
So I hope you'll get the people watching this will get something out of it, and we'll try to be very helpful. I mean, my goal with Disclosure Clinic is to build people so that they're ready to present themselves and they are built for success. That's the goal here. And there are a lot of trap falls in filling out this form.
Oh my.
And so let me just quickly ask you, Heather, I know you had posted that you had tried to fill out the form,
oh my gosh,
specifically regarding the income, and without getting into your personal information, obviously. What did you think about filling out the income portion of the form?
Yeah, so I think my biggest question was about the proof part. I wasn't exactly sure how much proof is required. And now I know that when I was reading the instructions on the form, it says you have to provide the last 3 years of your tax return. So that, and the notice of assessment, I believe. Is that right? I mean,
it asks for both.
Right. So as for both, that's right. So so that part I think I'm okay. But then when it comes to the bank statements and things like that, I just wasn't totally sure. Like, is it the 3 years as well? Like I just was like credit card statements, things like that. Like I don't know. Okay, now I'm going a little bit into the expenses now when I'm talking about credit card statements. But I just wasn't sure exactly how to provide adequate proof, I think, to my form.
Right. Oh, I hear that, and in fact, that's actually a great place to start.
Okay.
So let's look at the form.
Brilliant.
And I'm going onto the internet.
Right.
And the starting point, I guess, would be to go to ontariocourtforms.on.ca.
Right.
And lawyers do not use these forms. This is what the government provides for the public.
Right.
There are some problems with the forms. But let's talk positively here. So the government has a website, and you can find the forms. Specifically, you have to look for the family law forms, and then you're scrolling down. And as we discussed in the last one, there are 2 family law financial statements.
Right.
There's the Form 13 for support claims, and there's a Form 13.1. They're not next to each other.
No.
And that's for property and support claims. And as you said, watch the last video. To see which one, but let's just quickly look at them because they're the same when it comes to income. So I'm just pulling up, and you'll see here on the top right corner, it says Form 13.
Right.
And now I'm going to flip to the next one, and it says Form 13.1. So let's just quickly scroll down to see what we're looking at. And you'll see it asks you for your name.
Right.
And then it starts with Part 1, income. And there are check boxes asking if you're currently employed, self-employed, unemployed. Then it asks you to start attaching proof. I'm not going through it each one. I just want you to see it, to visualize it. And then there's a list here of income sources.
Yes.
Okay. And so now you look at the Form 13, which is just for support claims.
Right.
And it looks exactly the same, and which is great. At least there's some consistency here.
Right, right, yes.
Once you get past the expenses page and into the property, it looks different. And so we'll be dealing with property separately. So at this moment, I'm going to say goodbye to the Form 13. And now we're left with the Form 13.1. Right. So you can fill out the basic information on here. If you're not in court, there's no court file number to fill out.
Right.
and neither a name of a court or a court address.
Right.
And it kind of presumes that you're in court. We use this form whether you're in a court proceeding or if you're not in a court proceeding. So it asks you if you're the applicant or the respondent, but
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is you can just, wherever you put your name, that you're either the applicant or the respondent. I usually tell clients to be the respondent because everybody wants to be the applicant for some reason. So presumably, let's not even debate that.
Okay.
If you're outside of court. Okay,
Right.
so now you're up to part one, income, and I'm actually going to tell you stop.
Oh, okay.
Heather, you hit the nail on the head. Okay. In other words, to set yourself up for success here, do not fill out the financial statement yet.
Huh? What?
Exactly. Stop. And I'm not being like facetious or making a joke here. I'm being very serious. And I'm going to tell you, and this is not a plug, what I'm about to tell you. I'm going to tell you to go to my website, okay? Because what you're about to do is buried in the legislation. And when I mean buried, I mean you will never find it unless you knew to look for it.
Oh my God.
So I'm going to my website. So we're done with the family law rule forms. And now I'm going to Disclosure Clinic.
Right.
You go to apps.
Okay.
And go to document checklist.
Oh, okay.
Okay, apps, document checklist.
Okay, got it.
And I created something, and we're videoing right now on the cusp of the end of the tax season.
Right.
So whenever you're watching this, you're going to want the most updated document. So I'm going to presume that we're already past May 2nd, 2022.
Right.
And what you're looking at is something that is very, hopefully, straightforward. It's a checklist.
Okay.
All you have to do is answer the questions. So Heather, are you a citizen or resident of Canada?
Yes.
Check. We'll come back. Okay.
Okay.
Do you not? I assume that you file your income tax returns and you don't have foreign income that's not reported on your Canadian return. Is that a fair assumption?
Yep.
For our purposes?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're going to be discussing is why are you filling out this financial statement? Are you doing it because you recently separated, or are you doing it because of a motion to change? But if sometimes people are looking backwards for retrospective support or to cancel arrears, so let's assume that does not apply to you. Okay. And so Heather, I'm not going to get too involved with you personally. I'm just going. Let's assume if you're an employee, you would check this off, right?
Right.
And let's say you were not unemployed, and let's say you are not receiving any income assistance, and you could just read through the list. And then there's the next section is for self-employment income. Okay. And so I am going to check off self-employed.
Yes.
Through a corporation, just for fun.
Okay.
And are your corporations in a partnership? We're almost done, by the way, just don't get overwhelmed. And are you or your corporation the beneficiary in a trust? Okay, so those are 10 questions. All of those are in the child support guidelines at section 21, which are then referred to in the family law rules under rule 13.3.1. But the rules don't even give the list. The rules just say refer back to the child support guidelines. So this list is it, but it's just buried in legislation.
Ah, interesting.
So the thing that I would now discuss with you is to start collecting these documents.
Okay.
And to answer your question of, am I giving enough pieces of paper? And the answer is, what's written here is the starting point.
The starting point.
It's the starting point, but if you provide everything that's on this checklist that applies to you, you are worlds ahead of most people. Oh. Because most people they only provide what says on the financial statement, which oddly, it oddly only asks you for question 1 and a bit of question 6. But nothing much in between of that. Yeah. So, and definitely very little about the self-employment. So you're going to start collecting these documents, and I'm going to go back I'm going to go back to the last video in a sense and say, remember, we need to put these documents somewhere,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if you recall last time, I created my financial disclosure box, and
Yeah.
I created these 4 folders.
Yes.
And,
I
and,
remember.
and what I want you to think about is how to name your documents,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
And the answer is there is no correct way to name documents other than to be consistent about it.
Okay.
So on my toolkit at the beginning here, I actually give examples of how to name them. Okay, and the answer is it doesn't have to be this way. It's just as long as it's consistent, you have to kind of think like a computer. You want to be able that when you click name up and down, it will still be lined up in some way. So if you're going to find your tax return, okay, great. I'll find tax return, and then I could quickly find the date of the tax return. Same thing with the pay stub and the notice of assessment. So no magic here, just consistency. And if you put in a day or two of work of collecting all these documents, you're going to be set up for success, and you're also going to be set up to have provided your basic disclosure that most people, are chased for. And who needs that?
Right.
Why do you personally need to have that, to always be asked for stuff when you could provide it proactively and get it over with, frankly?
Yes.
And remember, one of the goals here is to be able to pursue your own goals here. Okay. In other words, your own objectives that arise out of a separation. You want to get this. You want to get your you want to get your act in order so that you can do it. Okay. So again, the toolkit goes through. So you would be just checking off. And I'm going to show you a couple of these things just so you can see it. We're going to come back to some of them. The tax returns, most people will have either done themselves using like TurboTax or through an accountant if they have more complicated. This is actually not my tax return that's loading. It's just from the Government of Canada. They have from the CRA website. And while we're waiting, I'm going to talk about my account for the CRA My Account. And the CRA My Account is a wealth of information if you know what you're looking for. And I strongly, if you have not ever logged into it, to set it up, using the sign-in partners is, I find, the easiest way to do it. So you don't even have to have an ID and a password.
Oh, wow.
You can just use your bank account. And I'm not going into mine. I respect my own privacy.
Oh, darn.
But I strongly recommend that you that everyone get access to your My Account.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the tax return as provided by the CRA.
That's right.
And this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And we're going to come back to this. I just wanted people to see what it looks like because in some sense, we're going to be referring to specific line items.
Yeah. Oh, this is good. Okay.
All right, so let's now go to the financial statement itself.
Oh, okay.